Okay, love you, bye-bye. Boom. Here's what they never tell you. They're never coming. They're not. They never show up, ever. They know. Wayne, I'm sorry, I had to expose you like that. Sorry. I had to tell them, Wayne. I had to let them know what goes on behind the scenes. I had to. So I'm serious. So I thought you guys needed to know that. Because what happens is they already know, and this world knows, that when you take a deep breath and you inhale and exhale, that you begin to remember why you do this work. And the kids, depending on the age of the kids, these kids, they're crafty. They understand, right? So they come up, I know that what I said yesterday was like really disrespectful, and I just wanted to let you know that I love you very much, and I love staying here, and I don't really want to leave because I know that I have a good place here, and if you just give me just like one more chance, I promise I'm not going to do it again. I promise I love you. And what happens? They have you. What are you going to say? Just go to your room. Go to your room. Just get out of my face for a minute. Just go to your room. And all of a sudden, you start pacing back and forth. Lord Jesus. Jesus, help me, Lord. And you go into a deep meditation prayer, right? And then all of a sudden, I'm saying this is what happens. And then all of a sudden, she remembers, or you remember why you do it. Now, the kids, they're in their room, and they're like, they already know. They already know they got your heart. Because kids, they're crafty. Because they understand that the bigger picture of why you do what you do is because you love them. And see, love, Miss Ritchie, for me, love was it gets hot up here. Love was the deciding factor that really got Miss Ritchie through the hard times, because here's what happened. For Miss Ritchie, and even though she's a teacher, I think all of us in life are teachers. All of us who are foster parents are great teachers. We're great mentors. We do this profession and we teach because children never really listen to what we say, but our children will always do what we do. And here's the illusion of child welfare. When you think things aren't working, when you think that kids aren't listening, when you think that kids are rebelling, and they will, that is the time when we must push forward even harder, because the illusion of child welfare is every time we take a step back, it seems we're not progressing. But see, in this profession, it is an endurance of time. Everybody say an endurance of time. That's why your hope in what it is you do, and your belief level has to be at an all-time high. Because if you don't believe in this game, if you don't believe in what it is you do, you will fail. Now, see, you may have thought that I was going to just come and just talk about great and happy things, and I am. But here's the reality in this. When we lose in child welfare, kids die. When we lose in child welfare, kids fall through the cracks. When we lose in child welfare, kids repeat the cycle. So what it is that we do, I want you to understand that this is very, very serious, and life has picked you because you have something unique and you have something special. Because I can guarantee that everybody in this room who is taking care of children, your children are better now that they're in your house than they were when they came. Because there are certain kids who came to your house who didn't talk. There are certain kids who came to your house who wouldn't say anything, and now you can't get them to shut up. There are certain kids who came into your house broken, and they had a lot of emotional turmoil and a lot of trauma, and now they're better than they were when they first came. And see, that is why we do what we do. See, this is not about getting it done quickly. This is a test of endurance. Many of the things that we do in child welfare and what it is you do in your house right now sometimes will not manifest until 5 years from now. It will not manifest until those kids turn 18 and 19. They go out into the world better than they were before, and they come back and they thank you for what it is you do, because they will come back and they will thank you. And the test of this is, can you endure this? Do you believe in what it is you do? Because I do. Because for me to be standing on this stage right now in 2013 at 44 years of age, it is an impossible journey, because I was not supposed to be here. I wasn't supposed to make it. I should have been dead. So let me just share this with you. If you think that what you do doesn't matter, if you think that what you do is not impactful, I just want you to remember me. Not because I'm anything special or I'm anything great, because I'm not. I'm just a kid who got lucky. I'm just a kid who was told by people like you that I could be more than I thought that I could be. I'm a kid who didn't believe in himself, a kid who thought that he was nothing in life, but I stand here as a testament to what it is that you do and to prove that what you do works. This is not a game. This is real life stuff. We're in the profession of saving lives. We're not just foster parents, caseworkers, case aides, CEOs. We are in the profession of saving lives. We are lifesavers. That is what we do, and I was a reciprocal of that, and I'm honored. So people ask me why I do what I do. I do what I do because I care. I do what I do because how can I not? Many of the kids I grew up with in the inner city of Dayton, Ohio are dead, are in prison, are living negative lives, but I stand before you because somebody told me what I could do. You told me that I was special. You told me that I was significant. And if you think your kids don't hear you, if you think they're not listening, you are sadly mistaken. They're listening to everything that you say, and they are soaking it in. You got to believe that even when the illusion of life tells you that what you're doing is nothing and that you are failing. Never give in to that pressure. Never succumb to that because it is an illusion. It is a trick. And every armchair theoretician who sits outside of this arena who have no idea the sacrifice this man has had to make, the things that he probably goes through on a daily basis, excuse me, that you never hear about. Talking about pressure, you think it's easy being a CEO for 15 years in this game? To hear all the ridicule, all the house bills, all the changes, all the budget cuts, all the things that these individuals have to go through, but yet he understood a bigger vision for why it is he did what he did and was able to lead you guys here to something better and bigger than yourself. That's what it's all about. So when you talked about purpose up here, when you talked about children, inspiring children, that is why we do what we do, because in 1977, when a young black abused kid walked into Kitty Hawk Elementary School broken, and they understood and said that I was in special ed, and they said, well, it's probable, Mr. and Mrs. Garrett, that this kid is not going to succeed, so we advise you to put him on medication. We advise you to put him into special ed because kids like him don't matter. And the thing about it is, can we bring the lights up, please? Can we keep them up? Is it an issue? Okay, that's good. So here's the deal. 1977, I'm in my double-room classroom in a regular school thinking I'm doing okay. But I've been labeled special ed, and they said, well, you know, kids like him can't make it. He's a former foster kid, so we really don't expect much, Mr. and Mrs. Garrett. Because these kids, well, they may succeed, but we want to put him in special ed. Labels. So if you're not fighting school systems right now, trust me, you will. Because a lot of school systems are not adequately equipped to deal with our children, and our children get the blunt end of the stick 95 to 99% of the time, unfortunately. So that is why our advocacy is so important. And the perception of foster care, when they hear that word foster care, all of a sudden there is a stigma. Our foster parents, oh, tax-free money. Yeah, right. They have no idea the sacrifice you make every single day. The sleepless nights, the abuse, the pressure that you take every single day to care for these kids on top of your own personal life, building relationships. If you're married and you have a relationship, the strain that they can put on a marriage sometimes. That is the real reality of this, but yet we do it anyway because it needs to be done. And there I sit in my classroom, and all of a sudden over the loudspeaker comes our principal, who says, all kids go into room 315, please go there now. All kids go into room 315, please go there now. Well, 315, we all knew what that was. That was the room for the special kids. That was the room for the kids who were different. That was the room for the kids that you didn't want to give sharp objects to because they would poke you, and the kids who were weird and strange, the special ed kids, the kids in wheelchairs, the medically fragile kids, those kids who had special needs, and nobody wanted to deal with them because they were different, including the teachers, some. So I remember sitting there in the class, and we're all snickering. It's 3:15, are you going? We knew no one was going because nobody from our class, we were too cool, man. We were Cub Scouts and Weeblos, and we were just cool. So over the loudspeaker, we're just laughing and things like that. And the two teachers, we had double teachers, you know, would teach, and they're looking at each other like, oh, not in our class. We don't have any of those kids. Because the perception in 1977 was terrible. About 5 minutes later, over the loudspeaker comes the principal again. All kids going to room 315, please move there now. Please go there expeditiously. And we look around, and nobody gets up. And in my mind, I knew that they could probably call my name, but they didn't, and I was saved. About 3.5 minutes later, over the loudspeaker, the principal comes again, and he says, Mark Anthony Garrett, could you please go to room 315? Mark Anthony Garrett, please go there now. And all of a sudden, The spotlight was on me. Everybody was quiet. All my friends that I'm laughing with just a few minutes later look at me like I have leprosy. And it was devastating. And my two teachers, they're looking through their books and they're scrolling down and they're looking at each other. And then all of a sudden they turn another page and they scroll down and I see one point like this. And they both stand up and look at me like I'm the worst kid in the world. And it crushed me. And inside, I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to say, what am I going to do, and the spotlight's on me, and all of a sudden, my teachers, all they say is, Mark, could you please excuse yourself, please? We're going to call the case aide to escort you to room 315. Please get your things now. You will not be coming back here today. That's all they say. So I get up, all my friends are quiet, and my friend that was sitting to my left, I walked past him, and I heard him say, weirdo, weirdo, weirdo. I was crushed. So I played it off like most kids do when they get hurt. I internalized it. I said, this doesn't bother me. There must be a mistake. So I go and get my little Land of the Lost lunchbox. And you guys remember Land of the Lost, right? Marshall, Will, and Holly. So I get my little Land of the Lost lunchbox, and I'm walking out, devastated, and I'm going down to room 315 to where all the weird kids are. So I get to room 315, case A drops me off, and I look in, and there's a kid named Russell, another black kid, who was sitting in a corner, and Russell stuttered. And every time he talked, he would, my name, and they called him Stuttering Russell. Then there was Jessica, who sat on the other side, and Jessica had all these sores all over her body. And sometimes she would pick her scabs off, and they would bleed, and they would have to put bandages on it. And we didn't understand that she had all those sores because that's where her father put out his cigarettes. We had no idea. Then there was Pat, who had this one arm with the pincher on, and all the kids would call him Captain Hook, and he would just get devastated by that, and it would hurt. And I remember one time he was out on the playground, and some kid, he got in a fight, and he took his arm and just ripped it, and then the straps broke, and they threw his arm over the fence. And he was never the same after that. And there were other kids who sat in our classroom who knew that they were different. And there I was, a new kid. I make kid number 12, and there's one seat in the third row. And I go sit down, and I ask myself, how did I get here? And I'm crushed. Because prior to that at home, my mother, though she was a great person, my mother had her own issues, and my mother would tell me things about how stupid I was. And she would tell me there's a real wonder that my real parents didn't want me because I wasn't worth the air I breathed anyway. And she would tell me that I was dumb, that I would never succeed or do anything special in life, that I was a dummy. So the self-fulfilling prophecy was true because I went to that school feeling like I was nothing. And then I'm in room 315 with other kids who were labeled just like me, and it was catastrophic, and it was hard. But something changed because the woman that you saw on the screen, she came in, and she came in with this thing called enthusiasm. She walks in and she says, hey, everyone, welcome to room 315. Welcome to our kingdom. Now, got to understand, this is 1977. Crack wasn't out then. So we're saying to ourselves, okay, she can't be a crackhead. So maybe she's smoking this wacky weed. Because nobody talks to kids like that. No one talks like that to us. She says, welcome to our kingdom. She says, outside that door, it says room 315, and it says special ed. But she said, in here, there are no special ed kids. There are only kids who are special. And all of a sudden, we start kind of analyzing this woman because we don't know, do we trust her? Is she really on drugs? We had no idea, but Miss Ritchie went on and she started talking, and here's what she said. She says, okay, here's what we're going to do. This is our kingdom, and we're going to treat each other like royalty. If you are a male, you are a king. You're King Russell. If you are a queen, if you are a girl, you're a queen. You're Queen Jessica. And in our kingdom, royalty always treats each other with honor and respect. And because this is our kingdom, we're going to build it. We're going to succeed. And when you come in this door, this is our kingdom. And we would treat each other with love, decency, and respect. So before you, my kingdom, I bow to you because you are royalty. Man, in our little minds, we start getting together. Pat started adjusting his arm. I'm serious. We were in here and we were excited. And she walks over to Jessica. Jessica never talks. She never speaks. She walks over to little Jessica and she says, "Hey, what's your name?" Jessica had her head down. She said, "It's okay." And Jessica was like, "My name is Jessica." And Miss Ritchie said, "No, your name's not Jessica. You are Queen Jessica, and you are royalty. You are special." And she gave her a hug. That girl's face lit up like a Christmas tree. And when she smiled, that was Miss Ritchie's opportunity to jump in. It was her window, and we call it the window of op. When she smiled, she took advantage of it, and she got in there, and she began to work with Jessica, and Jessica was never the same. When she came to that classroom, Jessica would laugh, she would talk, and she became a whole new person. Now for me, I'm a kid who was very introverted, and I couldn't really get this math stuff down, so she would come over and she would put her hand on my back and tell me how great it was. Because I would go home to school, and all of a sudden, things were worse at home, and I would come to school, and school became my saving grace. Just like for many of you, your home is a saving grace for your kids. Remember, the energy in your house is very important. You control the vibration of your home. You control the vibration of your energy. And always remember this. Life's thermostat will always rise to the highest state of your consciousness. How you think about things, how you look at things, your perception about things can totally change the whole dynamic and the energy of a room. I saw some of you yesterday, you came in, you had those kids were bouncing off the walls, and I saw kids, doing some great cartwheels, backflips, picking their nose, eating boogers. It was incredible. And you guys are just there, you don't care, let them do whatever they want, hey, and you guys were enthusiastic anyway because your love of them through the pain. Here's what I've discovered. I've discovered that losers and people who complain, they always go through situations and complain about what they're going through, but winners and champions always look at what they're going to. So understand that the future is built in the present. So when you look at a kid based on his or her potential, not where they are right now. Well, does that make sense? Well, you relate it to sports. We just had the big draft. And a lot of people think that they're drafting these players based on talent. Yes, they are, but they're drafting these players based on potential. See, Miss Ritchie looked at me. She didn't see a young, black, inner-city broken kid who was physically, mentally abused. She saw a kid who could be great. She saw 20 years into the future and operated from that point in the present. It is a deep concept, but stay with me. You said something last night that really sparked me, Mr. Wayne. You said something about when you first started here so many years ago that you operated from a sense of where you were, but you were always focused on the future. And that was amazing. So to kind of anchor that point, isn't it amazing that 15 years ago when this organization wasn't where it was and didn't have as many great individuals as it has now, that the focus was not on where it was 15 years ago, but where it could be in 2013. And isn't it amazing how the manifestation of his thoughts then has transpired and manifested now? Because I do a lot of seminars all over the country, and a lot of other agencies, they don't get this. This is incredible. What you guys are doing, not just because they're funding this or because we're here, but the philosophy and the quality of people that we have here is above average, because in our profession, average doesn't cut it. So you are above average foster parents with above average leadership, so that means that you will do above average things and you will produce above average children. Because the one thing that we can never do for our children here, the one thing that we cannot do is to cripple them and allow them to stay in that state of putridness where they make excuses and say, I can't achieve because I'm in foster care. I can't achieve because my biological parents said I couldn't, or I can't achieve because I've been labeled special ed, or whatever. We raise the bar of our children and we expect them to do great things. And that must be the standard, because if we're going to raise a nation of great children, it is incredible that, and probable and possible and necessary that we begin to sow into them now, despite their situation, despite where they are. Because that's what it's all about. It doesn't matter if they're black kids, white kids, Hispanic kids. Kids are kids. And you know what I've learned about poverty and pain? It's universal. Everybody goes through it. If you're hurting in Bangladesh, it's the same pain that's here. It doesn't matter. And as I travel around, I see a lot of pain, but I also see a lot of success and a lot of hope. And you give hope to these children. That's what makes you awesome. That's what makes you heroes. That's what makes you lifesavers. But here's the deal. Perception is everything. The perception about how we see certain things is sometimes